Okay, we're now on 2019 question 5. This is also question 5 in our FRQ packet and question 5 on the 2019 exam. We're going to look at their work, their answers to make sure my answers are correct. 24.6 months, 0.2266. Oh my gosh, not another one. Oh, so here I have a transcription error. This should say 0.2266, which right there and there, which looks like it equals 468. We'll have to look at the scoring guideline to see if that affects my score or not. Guess I was getting careless when I started doing this packet here. So part A, essentially correct if you have the following 3 components. Indicates use of a normal distribution with a mean of 30 and a standard deviation of 8. I did that right here. You also could have written out normal, mu equals 30, sigma equals 8. Sets up a correct approach for finding the 25th percentile of the battery lifespan distribution. That's right here. You can also do it with a picture. A picture would look like this. This could also be a question mark or an X, something like that. I think maybe you would want to put the mean in the middle too. Anything like that. But I prefer the probability statement. Reports the correct value of the 25th percentile or a percentile that is consistent with components 1 and 2. So if you made a mistake and you said, maybe you did the opposite, 25% will be greater than, so you did the top 25%, then as long as your answer was consistent with that, you would have met the requirements for component 3, which means you can still get a partially correct. So if you accidentally did greater than and you did the top 25%, if you did that, your answer would have been 35.3959. Then you still would have gotten it correct. You would have gotten partial, then not essential, but you would have gotten credit for the 3rd component. Note, component 1 can be satisfied in part A or part B. So I wrote it here. That gives me credit for it in part B as well if I had forgotten to write it a second time. Or if I wrote it in part B, but I didn't write it in part A, I would still get credit for it in part A. Okay, they show you some more complicated ways to do it. But we like the easy way, not the complicated way. Part B, indicate use of the normal distribution with a mean of 30 and a standard deviation of 8. That's the easiest way to do it. Remember, if you had it in A or B, you got credit for it on both problems. Specifies the correct event, including the correct boundary value and direction. This is my correct event, including the boundary and direction. If you just did X is less than 24, since a normal distribution is a continuous distribution, that's exactly the same thing. So you would be completely correct. And then the correct answer, like so. 3 out of 3 is E, 2 out of 3 is a P. Okay, they show you the more complicated ways to do it. You can read up on that if you would like to find a more complicated way to solve the problem. I prefer the easier way. Essentially correct, we have the following 2 components. Provides an expected value calculation with 2 appropriate probabilities that add to 1 and are paired with the correct outcomes. I had that. Reports the correct expected value 4.68 or a reasonable expected value consistent with work shown. Partially correct if the response satisfies only one of the 2 components. Notes for component 1. So if you made a mistake in part B and then you were consistent in part C, you still got essentially correct. If there was some sort of rounding error, so if you didn't round this one correctly and that caused your answer to be a little bit different, that's totally fine. Okay, they didn't say anything about arithmetic errors are overlooked, so I would have gotten a partially correct here because my probabilities did add up to 1. I had the right setup, but unfortunately I copied the wrong number down. So that's another 3 out of 4. Okay, you know the drill. Here was scores for 3 out of 4. If you need to pause the video.